They seem to be knocking on your door. You're going to open it. You should think twice before you do it. Who's on the other side? Some say, who there is. But there are foolish people who open the door. No more and no less. You'd better hear what I'm about to tell you. Because it's anyway, the young people looked. Enjoy this festivity. However, there was a small town in one of the cities of the United States, where lived a single mother of about 46 years, with her 6-year-old son. Both lived in a very large house, on the main street of this village. So it was quite common village. So it was quite common for children to knock on the woman's door. However, she was not a fan of this holiday. In fact, it bothered him. So I never gave candy to children. Whenever a group of kids, she was approaching her door, and he played the tian in search of sweets. The lady simply ignored the sound of her Timmy, and never bothered to open the door. And after a while the kids go away. This was the woman's strategy to not give candy. And it always worked for him. Until he arrived that night. It was already 11 o'clock at night. And the parents of that village they loved their children very much. So there were only a few children asking for sweets on the streets. The lady had managed to ignore all the children who knocked on her door. And when I thought there wasn't a single child left on the streets, the lady had finished watching television. And when I went to bed, I hear it. Talk. Talk. Someone was knocking on her door. But it was totally strange. Whoever was on the other side of the door. I was playing through punches. Instead of using the time. It was strange. The woman applied her technique. To ignore them until they're gone. However, that did not work. After a minute the door was still ringing. Every 7 seconds. I was gently beaten. So the lady supposed it was the hand of a child entity. Every 7 seconds it was repeated and always with the same pattern. 3 times in a row every 7 seconds it was repeated and always with the same pattern. 3 times in a row every 7 seconds they knocked on the door 7 times in a row. The lady was already angry. So through the window of the 2nd floor, he looks out at the outside entrance of his house. The woman felt a fright. Since there was no one, but one if you kept listening. The first thought that came to the mother, it wasn't their door they were knocking on. But it was impossible. In his street there were no more children. Apart the sound was heard as if I were by his side. It was clear that his door was locked. Little by little the blows were getting stronger. So much so that the lady can't stand it. He thought this joke had to end. She thought she would catch the children by playing a joke on them. The lady went down to the first floor and decided to go to Iro. And opened the door. There was no one, just as I had seen it in the second floor window. When I opened the door, I made the biggest mistake of my life. He had just opened the entrance of his last night. Get out there, kids, the joke is over. The lady screamed in search of the children who were K'd. But there was absolutely no one around. It seemed that everyone on the street was already asleep. The lady had been frightened. But I still thought it was a joke. Without further ado, deep down, and return to the inside of your house, closing and securing the door. He felt relieved because no one knocked on that door again. The lady's house can be a little confusing. To get to the second floor, you must go through the dining room, which is a closed room. The lady entered the dining room. He opened the dining room door. He went in and immediately closed it. Closed. Then go upstairs. I was climbing the stairs when talk. The mother's heart began to speed up. There was the sound of several knocks on his door. But this time it wasn't the front door of the house. It was the dining room door. Someone was ringing to enter the dining room. Someone was ringing to enter the dining room. The lady panicked. And I immediately go up to his room. And he took out the shotgun, which was hidden under the mattress of his bed. He returned downstairs. The blows continued, with the same pattern. Every 7 seconds. The woman prepared the gun. And almost sweating from the fear he felt inside, I take the door latch. In that instant the knocking on the door. They stopped as if that which was on the other side. He would have realized that the woman was finally going to open it. The lady flipped open the door. But there was no one. At this point the woman thought it was just her imagination. So I go deeply. He closed the door again. I keep his shotgun in his pocket. And he went back to his room, where she could finally fall asleep, but still feeling insecure. So much so that he slept with the gun in his hand. Just at 4 in the morning, the lady woke up. For your child. That I was talking to her. Mom. Mommy wakes up. What a day, honey, you had a nightmare. Mom, who's the one sleeping in my bed? The lady jumped out of bed. Scared, she told her child that there is silence to stay. And that nothing of the world should leave the room. I closed the door, prepared my gun again and ran full speed to your child's room. You can't explain the desperate fear I was feeling at the time. The lady entered her son's room pointing around her. But there was no one. The woman approached her son's sheets but found nothing else. But when I look well, he could notice a species of viscous and transparent blue liquid that left a trail from the bed to her son's closet. He stopped analyzing when Knocking could be heard from the other side of the closet. What had? What had tormented the poor woman all night? Was in the closet. The crying lady got up with courage and opened the door of the pole closet. The house is now a crime scene. The body of the lady was found lifeless the next morning, with blood staining his whole face. His neck was twisted in an incredible way. His head was rotated in a range of 180 degrees, which impressed the police and detectives. They considered this cause of death neck torcedura, but the way it was crooked was too strange. No doubt the culprit was not a human being. Next to the mother's corpse began a trail of a rare viscous and transparent liquid, blue color exactly the same as the one the lady saw before she died. It was concluded that such traces, they belong to that which caused her misfortune. It has come to be thought that the culprit is not a living bay. It's something beyond imagination, because the trail that left it ends in the sink. If the sink. What this means, and the worst, is that there are no witnesses to the scene, except for the victim's son. But he's a 6-year-old boy, so he was unable to provide important information. However, the boy was able to highlight one of the scenes he lived. His drawing is considered ridiculous, but the boy says that's what he saw that night. It only remains for me to tell you to be careful. Be careful when you open a door, because you don't know what, or rather that, on the other side. Just be careful, because it is lacquered door to door. Until it comes to you, just be careful. Knock on your door. You may be safe tonight until you open it. Well, even if you don't see anything, it's there. Door to door. And be careful on days like this. If I'm not mistaken, today is Halloween. Take advantage of this kind of dates. Close the door. Close it well. And don't open it when they're touching it. Whatever happens, don't open it. Turn up fine tonight. And the rest of the nights. And whatever happens, no. Open the door.